Good job, Mudge. Good morning. I think it's about 6:30 in the morning. It gets really bright early here now, which is really nice. It's raining. It's super light rain. I don't know if you can hear it. I can barely hear it. So yeah, it's really peaceful. It's just a nice peaceful morning. The birds are singing. The robins are singing. Paige and I heard the wolves this week. I was hoping the wolves had left. Either maybe they left and then came back, but we heard them on Monday at around 9 a.m. and then, which is kind of late for them to be out and about. But we also heard them on Thursday, I believe, at around 5 p.m. So, yeah, so I shouldn't say them. We heard one wolf. So each time we heard one wolf howl. So I'm really hoping they're not back in full force like they were last summer, because yeah, it was wolf central here. I mean, I had kayakers telling me that they were sleeping on the trails on the far side of the island, and they had wolves running by their tent, like packs of wolves at night, just whoosh, 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 by their tent on the trails. So yeah, there were wolves everywhere. So I hope they don't stick around, because it makes Peach's life, not so fun, because she's got to stay on leash if there are wolves around. So yeah, let's just I really hope that they don't stick around. I had a birthday last month. Last month was my birthday month. Is that what you say? I don't know. But I decided to buy myself a gift. I do that every year. I'll decide a couple of months in advance what I want to get myself for my birthday, and then I just save up for it and put the money aside and buy it. This year, I ended up buying myself a crossbow. So I was able to get to Alert Bay this week in order to pick it up. I've unboxed it and, I've put it together to a point, but unfortunately there was one of the tools that you use to screw in a screw on it. It didn't fit. I mean, there's plenty of tools in the shop. I could have gone and got another one, but I've just been so busy this week with freelance work that I just kind of put it back in the box and just worked. But I'm excited to have it, because I just think it's so cool when you can learn a new skill, maybe even a skill that you'll never use, but it's just really cool to have that skill. It's gonna force is the right word, but it's gonna force me to take some time out of just working all the time and do something for me, like that'll teach me something new. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. So I haven't tried it yet, because I haven't got it put together. But next week, my neighbors from the island next door, they're going to be coming over, and we'll give it a test. I think he's more excited about the crossbow than I am. Last week I did a video talking about how I never get scared. This week I thought I would tell you a story about when I was living off grid in a different place. Something that did happen that was actually quite scary. And I laugh about it now, but oh man, I wasn't laughing when it happened. So in 2014, I was the caretaker at a marine resort in Desolation Sound. I just did it for a winter. So a lot of these caretaker jobs that you get are seasonal. So this was just a winter season caretaking gig. The owners ended up going back home to I think they were in Saskatchewan. I'm not 100% sure. It was so long ago. But the owner had some friends. It was middle of winter. The owners had some friends that needed a dock to stay at for a couple of days. So he told them that he could dock at his marina. So they showed up. It was 3 gentlemen. The first night they were there, they invited me to the dock for a really nice salmon dinner. I believe they were fishermen, so they had a lot of salmon on board. So they really nice salmon dinner, and then they ended up fixing my boat because I couldn't get my boat started. Yeah, so they ended up fixing that, and it was really great. And then I can't remember if there were 2 nights or 3 nights, but anyways, it was the last night that they were there. You know, I just kind of kept to myself after that first night. You know, I just let them enjoy their time at the dock. I didn't, you know, interact with them or bother them. But the 3rd night they were there, and because it was winter, the nights come fast. So sundown was probably at around 4:35. So I was sitting in my cabin, and this is Buttercup was with me at the time, my previous dog. She was with me. And we were sitting in the cabin. I don't know, I was probably watching Netflix or doing something like that. All of a sudden, I heard a handgun go off. And then it went off again, and again, and again, and again. And I was like, what? I just didn't know what was happening. It was pitch dark outside. I had a VHF radio in my cabin, and part of my job was to monitor channel 66. So for those of you who are boaters, I don't know if it's global, but in this area or in BC, when you're sailing around and you want to contact a local marina, you get onto channel 66 and you call the marina. So I kept 66 open for any traffic that was going by the marina. So I'd heard a bunch of shots, and then all of a sudden, over the VHF, I heard, "Amanda, Amanda, where are you? Come out and play, Amanda." I froze. It was one of the gentlemen that was staying at the dock. So I instantly clued in. I thought, they're just super drunk. Something really, I don't know what's going on, what kind of people they are. So they called over the radio, and it was just one voice. So all 3 of them were doing it. It was just one voice that kept calling. So eventually I just turned off the radio. I didn't respond. I just turned off the radio, and I ended up shutting all the lights off in my cabin. By this time, it was probably around 10 p.m. and the gunshots were just going. They had been going probably for about an hour, over and over and over. And honestly, my first thought, because I knew they were on the dock, I was like, please don't shoot a hole in my boat. I just thought, because that was the first year I had my boat, and I just was like, please, please, please don't put a hole in my boat. But by this time, I knew they were just super drunk, but I felt very unsafe. Being on that property, I had access to a shotgun and a rifle. That was simply because on that property, I ran into cougars twice on that property, like eye to eye, face to face, and yeah, that was scary. But I'd seen bears, I'd seen a wolf, I'd seen, and there were grizzlies in the area. It was that point sometime during that winter, the logging crew from down the inlet, they had stopped to tell me about some grizzly experiences they had. So I had the shotgun and the rifle in my cabin. Their shots didn't stop, and I didn't have a lock on my cabin door. Like, you just didn't have locks on your cabin doors out there, I guess. So anybody could walk in at any time. So I hunkered down by the front window. So I had a front window, and it overlooked the ocean. So I had a really rocky shore in front, and then the ocean was right there. So I hunkered down behind the window. I literally was sitting on the floor with my chin just slightly looking out the window, because the window pane was like, I could sit and just have my chin out the window. And I just held the shotgun, just waiting. The window where I was sitting was here, and then the door was here. So I was sitting like this, watching the door and looking out the window. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I think I had sat like that for a couple hours, just listening to them shooting guns. Like, it was just crazy. And then all of a sudden, I heard footsteps outside my cabin. And all I could see, because all my lights were off, all I could see was a silhouette. And I knew which one it was. And the guy, he walked along the beach. Like, he just was walking back and forth along the beach in front of my cabin. If he would have come into my cabin, I maybe wouldn't have shot him, but I would have shot something. So I was freaking out. And then he ended up, and he peed. Like, he just peed all over the place. It was the weirdest thing. So I just watched, like, it was just a silhouette. So I just watched a silhouette, like, pee, like, every, I don't know, few feet. And then probably after about 5 minutes of going back and forth, he just kept walking and went back to the docks. So eventually I ended up falling asleep. Like, I fell asleep with a shotgun in my hand, leaning against the wall, looking out the window. At around, I think it was probably around 5 a.m. I woke up, and it was super, super dark, and the gunshots had stopped. So I ended up getting up and going back to bed, or going to bed. But the funny thing is, the next morning, it was light out, so it was probably around 9 a.m. or something like that. There was a knock on my door. So I opened it, and it was one of the guys that was staying at the marina. And I almost felt bad for him, almost, because he was so hungover. And he looked at me, and he didn't even say good morning. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me and just said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I didn't say, "Oh, that's okay." I just said, "Yeah, it was pretty bad." And he said, we're leaving right now. And I said, "Okay, well, have a good trip." And that was it. And they were gone. Funny part of this is I was anchored in Campbell River. I think it was like 2020. And, I met a bunch of people just locally and became friends with a few people. And one of the people I became friends with, I told him this story. And he was just like, "Wow, that's crazy." Blah, blah, blah. I think it was a couple of months later, he came to me and he says, "You're not going to believe this." He said, "I think I know the guy that was staying at the resort, the marine resort you were caretaking at." I said, "You do?" And he said, "Yeah. I had mentioned to him that I met a girl named Ananda who was anchored in Campbell River, and his face just drained, and he said, 'Amanda on a sailboat?' And they talked back and forth, and they determined it was actually me. And then my friend said, 'Yeah, she told me that story.' And this guy said that he thinks about that night a lot. And he said he just cringes not in shame, I don't know if those were his words, but just he cringes at their behavior. Like, he said he thinks about it quite often, which I thought was, I don't know, thought it was pretty funny. But anyways, that is definitely the scariest night I had living off-grid. So my scariest moments aren't with wolves or bears or cougars. They're with humans, because would I hesitate to shoot a cougar? Probably not. Would I hesitate to shoot? I might hesitate to shoot a bear. Because if you don't shoot a bear and get him on first shot, you've just pumped him full of adrenaline, and you're in big trouble. So I don't know if I'd shoot a bear, but I'd shoot a wolf and I'd shoot a cougar for sure. I wouldn't hesitate to do that. But a human, That's a whole nother thing. Would I? Wouldn't I? I don't know. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I wouldn't. I guess you can never really know until that moment arrives what you're gonna do. So, yeah. So, yeah, that I still think about that story. I think about it quite often, actually. Not in a negative way, because I don't feel, I don't think badly of those people. I mean, they were drunk, and yeah, what they did was pretty bad, but yeah, we all make mistakes and do stupid things. That's my scariest night living off-grid alone, for sure. So hopefully next week I'll have some crossbow practice footage for you. Maybe I'll be an expert my first try. No, unlikely. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.